Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, it's all about the updates. It's been a minute since I worked on a tree and I'm getting a little antsy. Although, sometimes you just have to take your time and let things lie. And you can get to them later for the health of the tree. But I thought I would do an update show because I had someone recently post a comment about a tree I worked on a few months ago that they were really appreciative of just working on that specific tree. We'll get to that one in a moment. And he was really curious about an update, and so I'll have an update for that tree as well. But I thought I'd start where I left off, and that's this one right here. It is the rock over the boulder. So just a week or two ago, I worked on this tiger bark ficus that I found at Ottenbro's, one of my favorite nurseries to go to on the west side of the metro, where I do some of my workshops, and I saw this tree with this really big root. You can go back and take a peek at that episode. I'll put that up in the corner for you and maybe down in the description. And here it is today. So it's only a couple weeks later, but the really good thing about a couple of weeks later is I'm not seeing a lot of yellowing leaves. And I'll talk about that with another tree in a moment. But right back here, there's one little leaf here that fell off that was a little yellow. So a stress on the tree, right? We work on our trees when they're healthy, hopefully the best times of the year. And again, I've added heat to my room to keep this thing in good shape. So this is a big old bin. I'm gonna hit things, but there is the left side of this rock. We've got a rock back in here that's holding the roots in here, a rock right here that's holding the roots here. And if I swing around this way, it's leaning off this way. We've got this raffia holding this section all together. And then there's some raffia down below there. And I've been watering this thing real good. Keep making sure it's the muck is getting watered. And of course, all the soil down here. And so this is a little dry on the surface here, but the muck has still got moisture in it. So I know there's moisture in the tree. So this is the first update. It is the tiger bark root over boulder. And there's been some sphagnum moss and muck kind of disintegrating a little bit, but that's okay. Everything's intact. And again, not a lot of yellowing leaves. In fact, I can even see just a little bit of a bud here on this branch right here, a little bit of a new bud right there and there. So I think we're in good shape. This tree is going to do great. Plus the heat in my room, they're loving life. So there is the tiger bark root over boulder, as much as I can spin it in this great big tub. And we'll get some new trees up here and do some more updates. My second update for today is yet another tiger bark ficus. Now, I didn't make a show on this, but I did make a short. Let's show you the short right now. This was a tree that I just didn't think had a lot of potential in the upright position. So I made a really drastic, bold move to flip it on over. So the ficus flip, as I labeled the short, turned into this guy right here. Now, unlike my other one I just showed you, this one did show a little bit of yellowing and stressed at first. We lost a couple of branches. This one had a wire out right here. I cut that branch back. There was a branch coming right here and it dried up and it was a goner. And then these have remained. So we've got a nice soft leaf right here, which is pretty much showing some new pushing of growth. And everything else is green on the tips and looking okay. So it has had a bit of stress, but I think in general we are okay. So I made this into a cascade. It's got a little bit of a bulge right here, so a little unsightly at the moment, but we'll see what grows and how this comes to fruition as a tiger bark ficus cascading style. So I'm really happy with this. A little bit of an update, but also an introduction for y'all if you didn't see the short. But this is again a couple of weeks after the ficus flip. And we're still alive too. I think the warmth in my room, the extra humidity back in the corner where it's at, is helping this wing cling on, and I think it's gonna start pushing out growth hopefully here in a couple more weeks with the more light and the more heat in my room. So a big thank you to everybody who makes comments on the show. I do appreciate that. I read all of them and try to respond back to all of them as quickly as possible. And I had a viewer recently, I forget the name because it wasn't like a Bob or a Dave or a Jim. It was some letters and some numbers, and I'll have to dig that up and see if I can find it. But thank you so much for making a comment about the China doll forest. So a pretty unique tree to bonsai, in that it grows, pretty tall and some really long, leggy branches. Probably pretty well suited for a forest, I think, based on how bushy this has gotten. And if you've ever had a money tree, I'll show you that in a little bit too. Similar kind of tree, very tough to bonsai, but it can be done. You just have to have it in a bigger pot and have a big display of tree, and they're gonna have big leaves always, those money trees. But this has some really great smaller leaves on here, some really fun looking leaves on this China doll. Really, really nice. I love the pattern there. So it looks really thin right now because thanks to the viewer, I actually came down and paid a little closer attention to this tree than I normally did after the repot, and I noticed a bit of scale on this guy. Yeah, so I cleared off all the scale and gave it a spray with some soap and water, 40 parts water to 1 part of some detergent, dish spray, dish soap, the detergent kind. And I did some trimming. There were a couple of big sections with a lot of scale that I didn't think I'd be keeping anyway, so I pruned this thing back pretty good. So here is a growth on the back of this tree since I repotted it. That's done really nice. So this is new growth, giving it kind of a lower branch down here. And this one started growing a really low branch down here. It's almost gonna make it look like a twin trunk. If it was just a little bit lower, I'd have a twin trunk down there. And so that one's growing up nice. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buds up in here. A nice bud in the middle, and it's gonna keep shooting out some growth. So that's kind of nice because we did lose another tree. Here we go. This one right here. So I've left these kind of stubs down here as like death in the woods, and this is a branch that's still hanging there. The other one I had was too big and looked weird, so I just kind of got rid of that one. And so we're gonna leave this one here like it fell off of this guy right here. It could just be laying down just like that. We'd have fallen down like this, but that's the front of the pot. So we'll just leave it here for now and we'll see. It might not stay in the design, but this one's got some really fun movement over here, and it's got some young growth up here, but a couple of young buds, and that's gonna hopefully do fine. This guy here has a really weird branch going out right here. I wasn't ready to cut this back to this branch here, but it is kind of coming out and up, a little bizarre, but it's got this fun growth up here, an inch of growth on some new buds right here, and then there's this back one that splits into a Y up top here, but at this angle shows a nice, not quite as drastic of a Y. And so very sparse. And we did lose, like I say, one of the trees here. This one was dead. And I did trim back a few of the roots too that again were a little bit kind of soft and mushy. There was a tree that died off over here too. We got rid of that stump. It just wasn't looking very good. So I've got this forest that has a lot of healing to do, but I love this kind of, the section right here with these true old trunks of trees are still there. It didn't last very long. This might rot out, and just because it is kind of weak right now, they'll rot out and go away someday, but we'll just hopefully get more growth on this guy. So this is kind of the main cluster, and their forest kind of goes over here with this young guy here and this over here. We're just gonna keep going. So there is the China doll forest, and it's still going strong. I'm glad I found the scale, but there's the update on the China doll. This, incidentally, is not a horrible front either. But that right now is still the front for me, and there we go, China doll. The next tree I want to show you is not really an update again, but an introduction to a tree that my friend William gave me. He also gave me the China doll, and I was talking about how the China doll, not a real traditional bonsai tree and in a forest with all kinds of growth, that thing should look really good as a big forest. but it's going to take a while to fill out. This is another one of those. You know, some people try to make bonsais out of some pretty crazy trees, and I love that experimentation. I love that. And this is another one. Money trees are pretty hard to make into bonsais. And this is a big old money tree with a big old thick trunk. It does have a little reverse taper down here. So if we were to rebury this thing down to here, it would look just a little bit more bonsified because we got some reverse stuff going down here. So we'll see when we repot it what the roots look like. This is still in the soil that William used. And I asked him, I said, so, because it was about this tall. It was 3 times this height. And I said, are you going to mind if I chop this thing? He's like, oh yeah, you know, if you think you can, you think it's ready to be chopped. And so as I started to think about putting more heat in my plant room, I said, this is going to be a good time to chop this guy. It was growing great in the plant room, had plenty of energy. I thought, let's just chop it. So there it is right there. I chopped this guy right there. And lo and behold, after about 2-3 weeks, I got this itty bitty bud like one of these guys right here. And now that's going to grow up this way. And it's already got it's got a division right there and another one that tried to grow there. I don't know if that's going to do anything. That might just be a sheathing that when it was coming out at first. But we've got some leaves. So this could come out into 2 and we could have a nice little branch out here. But it has continued to shoot out buds. So this is going to be hard to see on camera. But I have a bud right there. I have a bud right there. And I have a bud right there. Now, never in my time working on a money tree have I seen one bud in 4 places right there at the chop point. So that's fantastic. We could have 3 or 4 branches here and have a really pretty fun money tree that would only have to be now this tall and all. It'll be big leaves and a little bit odd again. The proportions are not going to be very true to life. But a fun tree nonetheless, in a nice sized pot with a nice canopy. And if these 3 all survive in this heat I'm providing in my room right now, those could add some extra branching. That would be fantastic. Now, one of the things that happens with some trees, and I don't remember if they did this with my old money tree, but because this one is taking so much energy, I'm hoping these continue to push out. But these 3 might die off and not do so well. But this one is showing some growth. It's the thickest one. This one's still sticking out. It's tropical in here for about 5-6 hours of the day, close to 80 degrees. I think those buds there are going to hopefully do fine, and we'll have a nice display of branches leading up to a really big canopy. So there you have the money tree. Kind of a fun angle here. And we've got this growth this way. Now it's coming up this way, and maybe we can get some branches over here, but we just have these other branches that might fill out. So there you have the money tree. And I think this side actually is a little more presentable right now. Either or, we can go both directions. Update on the money tree. Now the next update has to do with my 40-year-old ficus tree, which right now is really hard to get to. As you can see, I've got a whole bunch of Portulacaria afras here that I had to pick up from my friends down at Weigert's Nursery in Florida. So Andrea shipped me up some of these Portulacaria afras for a workshop I have in 2 short weeks. I can't wait. It kicks off my season. We do a PA workshop in the middle of February for a great tropical tree that people can really have some quick results and bonsify it pretty darn easily. It's a great intro tree, I believe. I really love the PAs. And you know I have quite a lot in my collection. I have about 30 up there behind me. So this is really big and crowded. I want to get a little closer. You can see what's going on though on this tree. So let me do some moving around, shifting around, see if I can make it easier for you to all to see what's going on with the 40-year-old ficus tree. So with the 40-year-old ficus tree, it's kind of hard to show the whole tree and some close-ups at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the tree and what I've done to it recently. So you can also go back and see the playlist of the 40-year-old ficus, because I've already put a couple of shows out on this one when I first got it, and also when I put it into this pot a little while back. And of course I've made some chops, but since the last episode I've made another chop, and it's right here is the big one. So you can see this branch here, if I twist it around, comes up nice right here. And this was another branch that was the same direction, so it was 2 right together. So I've got some cut paste on there, a nice smooth transition with this branch coming up here. Now, will I keep this whole length down the road? Probably not, but what I have to see is if these are gonna back bud. So I'll talk about that in a moment. Back here, I do believe I cut this one a little bit shorter back here. So now I've got these 2 branches off of this one trunk with this big old scar here. So I might be able to take a saw here and cut this off a little bit here to make the tree kind of bend this way and get some more healing. But these take a long time to heal. With this Benjamina style ficus tree, in my experience, the bigger the chop, the longer it's going to take to heal. So when these branches get old and mature like these trunks, this is not easy to do to get this kind of healing. So I should leave it alone and just let it heal and see, and maybe a new branch will kind of come off here. That's always possible. Or if I cut it all back, it's just going to take a long time to heal and be quite the eyesore. And then I also took a big old chop back here. I don't know if that was on the big video or the last video, but there's a chop right here, and I think this one's new. I chopped this one up here. And I probably nipped and tucked all these branches because there was plenty of greenery, and I just had to see some evidence of some back budding. So I just told you about that chop that I made right here. So we have this nice curve right here, and this is the old sore right here, the wound that's healing pretty good around. We still have a good inch to go to close that thing off, but that's still gonna be an eyesore for years to come because it's such a harsh angle from this branch down to here. But again, we'll wait to see what back budding happens and what we wanna do with this tree. But lo and behold, look right here behind. Look at this guy right there. So if I were to chop this entire branch off right here and this becomes the new branch, we would have this extreme taper from really wide to really skinny. But it's growing right now right in the armpit or the crotch of these branches, however, where they intersect. And so, but it's a good place and it's going up. This one's got more curve to it. This one's going more up. And again, if we want taper, we can get rid of all this really long stick right here. This part's just a long stick piece. We've got all this branch down here and it's super straight. So if we cut that all off for this kind of thing, we'll be able to grow a new branch the way we want. As I focus back in down here, look at right above my little fingertips right here. There's another branch right there trying to grow, and this one's trying to split off right there. So who knows what's gonna happen right there, but that's showing great back budding, really low on the main trunk tree with these two branches going up. That's great to see. So as we pan up the tree a little bit, I've got a little bit of the back bud right here. I've got this back bud right here by this sore. Look at that. And if you look right up here a little higher, this right here, let me cover the background. There's another little bud right there, right at the tip of that curve part. So we don't like this 90-degree angle thing. This is really odd. And if I cut this entire tree back here, I've got a new branch that's going to follow the pattern of the original trunk line. So if that continues to grow and get stronger, I'll cut this entire thing off and I've got a new branch right there. That's pretty cool. And you can't see it very well, but right there, that also is a new bud. Right there, low on this branch. So now if I pull back and pull up, look at how long this branch is right here. This goes up about 2 feet really past the camera angle. Here's about 8 inches of it. It's straight and long, but there's back budding right there. And if that back buds and there's some more maybe on the back side sometime, we're gonna be able to chop this branch way back here and start using this as a future branch. The back budding on this thing is really starting to pop, and that's exciting. And then as I turn the whole tree around, now this is the back from where you were looking before, but all of this growth in front of you right here, all of this is new growth since I repotted this tree. This is all young branches. Now, because it's in the plant room and not getting full sun, these are a little bit long and leggy, but they're growing down on the trunk of the tree. And this guy right here is really starting to swell up a little bit and look like a main branch. It's actually hardened off. And so this could become a branch. We could chop this right here down even lower now to down here and have this become the new branch. So there's a bud right there on that branch, and there's that back bud over there. All of this right here that my hands are on, all of that is new growth. So we could cut everything from here up. I could cut all that off right now and all of that would survive. This is pretty new as well. And that was dangling in front of us before, that whole branch. All of that is branch. And there's little tiny back buds all over this section. So again, if I shift up here and move over, I can get rid of all of this green growth here in probably a couple of weeks or before I bring it outside. So what I'll probably do is bring it outside with these cut off, and then new branches will start to grow there as well. Now as I pull back even further, again, all of this up top, all of this kind of scraggly looking stuff up here is new growth. All of that is new growth. All of this stuff over here is new, most of it's new growth. You can see the dark leaf right here that I'm holding onto and the new leaf next to it. Half the size, new growth. This is all new growth in here, all those shiny leaves compared to the dark leaves. We've got shiny and then darker green. So a lot of new growth on here, a lot of growth here, and again, some back budding. So this tree is really healthy and doing some really great things. And the last tree I'm going to show you today on this early February weekend update show is this bridge Portulacaria afra. So again, from my friend Candace, who all of you have been checking in with me to check in with her, and she's doing great. She's in great shape. She's working out. She's with a new boyfriend, loving life, traveling. She's got a new job, I think, or was thinking about this possibility. I think she was going to have a new job. They're going to get a new house in the spring. She's busy, but our friend Candace is doing very, very well. And this is one of the trees that I acquired when I helped save her trees from possible future death because she just didn't have the time and commitment at this point in her life to work on the trees. So this Portulacaria afra, people have been asking about this on the comments too because it's in the background of a lot of my videos sitting over there. And so here is her creation with this down tree, and it's turning into this bridge. Fantastic. So I wanted to show this plant for two reasons. One, because it was a tree that Candace made and gave to me and I'm taking care of, and an update for Candace. But I also wanted to talk about growth different times of the year. We talk about legginess, and if you ever hear people talking about legginess, usually it's because there's not enough light. If we don't have enough light on our trees and we're in the end of the season in a cold frame, or in my plant room, even though I have plenty of artificial light, this is struggling to reach the sunlight that's not out. It's trying to reach towards artificial light, and it's just not the same. And so as you spin this one around, you can notice this thing has taken off since a little trimming I gave to it, which you didn't see. But I pruned it up so there was pretty kind of some slim pickings in some of the branches. But you can see all of this growth right here. Fantastic growth here. This is 2 inches of growth all the way through all these branches. This might be 3+ inches of growth, these two right here. A couple inches here and here, that's a good 2 inches there. All of that shot out. Now it's a little bit long and leggy. The inner nodes are not where I want them necessarily, but these PAs grow so ferociously, we'll be able to cut back and grow new branches and everything's gonna be just fine. And so that's what I wanted to kind of share with y'all. Don't be afraid to let things just grow out once in a while, you know, and even if it's in the plant room and things aren't as great as you want them to be, this growth is going to help this tree and keep it healthy. And even though it's a little bit longer and leggier, again, I know I can trim these all back to their first leaf on the tree branch, like this one down here. I can trim all the way down to this guy right here. And then those will grow with shorter nubs, inner nodes rather, in the summertime outside my backyard. So in the meantime, they're growing tall, reaching for this artificial light, and still helping to thicken up this tree all the way around. So there is the wonderful bridge, Portulacaria afra, which is the front, which is the back. This curves towards you and then away from you. This kind of curves around and then comes back at you. Either way, it looks pretty nice to me. I haven't really looked at it long enough to even pick a front. I'm just letting it grow in the plant room. So there's the Portulacaria afra. Don't be afraid at the long leggy growth for this particular tree. There are some trees we really want to be careful with that, like our maple trees, trident and Japanese maples, but that's a different tree. We'll talk about that a different time. But this PA right here in my plant room with this really long growth is just fine. And once it gets more light in the summer, it's really going to shoot out all kinds of growth. But I'm still happy that it's growing. I could prune this back all right now, get it tight again, and then let it shoot out some more. But we're just going to let it grow and stay healthy. So there is the Portulacaria bridge raft style planting. Another wonderful gift from my friend Candace. That is going to do it for Dave's Bonsai today. A little update show, a couple of introductions for you. I hope you got some great insights from these little updates and knowing that the trees are doing well. And we'll have a lot more shows coming up, of course, as we now are into February and spring, y'all, is less than 6 weeks away. I think it's on the 19th of March this year. So, oh my gosh, it's going to be here in a blink of the eye. So make sure you're ready for your plant needs this spring. Oh, and one other update. I finally changed my calendar. There's some of you that have been noticed that I haven't changed my calendar, but I'm still 2 months behind because this is December. So we have a beautiful crabapple Mary Potter crabapple tree that has some beautiful red berries on there. Beautiful tree. And that, of course, is from the Toronto Bonsai Society's calendar that I got from Mr. Nigel and Blue Jay Bonsai last year. They sent that out to my way. I appreciated that. And December, it's the end of that calendar. I could go back to January and February, which I probably should do, but it's the wrong months. But I wanted to see the red berries for a little while. So that calendar is out of date. We'll have to find a new one. That's going to wrap things up here. It is warm in the plant room. I probably shouldn't be wearing this thick sweatshirt. Hey, take care of you. Take care of your bonsai. And you know what? We're going to catch you very, very soon on another one.